Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the College Football Playoff Semifinal Teleconference. Our host for today's call is Brett Daniels. At this time, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session. I would now like to turn the call over to your host. Brett, you may begin.
Thank you, Ross. Welcome, everyone, to the 2023 College Football Playoff National Championship Teleconference. Joining us to start today's call is Georgia head coach Kirby Smart. Following Coach Smart's portion of the call, we will be joined by Peach Bowl players of the game, Stetson Bennett and Javon Bullard. As a reminder to everyone on the line, we are transcribing today's call and will post those transcripts on collegepressbox.com shortly after the conclusion of today's teleconference. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Coach Smart to make an opening comment before we begin the questions and answers. Coach Smart?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank CFP for taking the time to put this together and having a great original semifinal game there at the Peach Bowl, and now headed to the national championship. Our kids are really excited and ready to head out to Cali, which we'll be doing later this week. Looking forward to the opportunity. I got a lot of respect for TCU and their program, and Coach Dykes, what a tremendous job he has done there. Had the great fortune of seeing him and Max out at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, and just have so much respect for their program, them as people, and what a great opportunity it is to play in a large setting, in a great setting for a CFP national championship.
Great. Ross?
At this time, we'll take questions. If you would like to ask a question, please press star one on your telephone keypad now, and you will be placed into the queue in the order received. Please be prepared to ask your question when prompted. Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star one on your phone now. One moment while we gather the questions. And our first question comes from Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. Please go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you. Kirby, you probably know there's a record number of points scored in those semifinals. With the playoff bracket being expanded, do you see any evidence of guys, even at this point, just being tired? So what do you react to that?
I don't know how to pinpoint it. I don't know. Traditionally the teams that are in these games are, they're pretty good offensively, but you'd like to say they're also pretty good defensively. But I think the studies and numbers indicate that as the season goes on, and especially these semifinal and final games, scoring has to be going up. What that is, I can't pinpoint it. I don't know that I would say it was just being tired, because you could say that's relative to offense as well, that you can get tired. Defense, you can get tired on defense, but I certainly think it's hard to play quality defense anymore, because I know we try really hard here, and I know they do at TCU as well. Joe Gillespie does an unbelievable job, their defensive coordinator, and it just seems that tackling becomes worse as the season goes on, and there's more scoring, but I don't know why that is. I've been a part of some unique national championships with the LSU-Alabama ones in the rematch that was lower scoring, but outside of that, I've been a part of a lot of shootouts.
You've been through a 15-game season. In the back of your mind, have you ever thought about what it's going to look like with 12, or they could play 16 or 17?
No, I really haven't thought about it, because I know that's coming down the road. But, at the end of the day, the gap, the space between the last game being the conference championships and the semifinals probably bothers me more than anything else, because I think you lose rhythm there. So I don't know if it's the total number of games as much as it is the layoff in between. And if it was continuous, I'm not saying you wouldn't still see higher scoring. You probably would see higher scoring, but I don't think it would be as bad of some of the performances.
Great, thanks.
Our next question comes from Mike Griffith from AJC Dog Nation. Please go ahead, Mike.
Kirby, I know you've taken a look at TCU. Can you kind of give us a Crib Notes version of what makes TCU unique offensively and defensively. And I know it always comes back to players, but they do play a 3-3-5 that we don't always see. And obviously, Coach Dykes is revered for some of his offensive strategies.
Yeah, they have a tremendous team, a tremendous program. He's won everywhere he's been. He's done a great job. Their kids believe. They have, I feel like, just reading and listening about them, a lot of similarities to our kids in terms of the culture created there, the way they play, the way they believe. I think I saw a stat, they have the most comebacks in college football, in the fourth quarter. And that shows what your mental makeup is. Their conference, they've been in a lot of tight ball games, and they've won those tight ball games and done an incredible job with what they do. And they create really tough situations defensively, do an incredible job on special teams, have one of the best returners that I've probably ever faced in the return game, and score a lot of points on offense with a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. So it's a recipe to be playing for the national championship.
Our next question comes from Michael Cunningham from AJC. Please go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, Kirby, one element of TCU's offense is they throw a lot of passes, at or behind the line of scrimmage and use those to move the chains and also get some explosive. What challenges does that present to your defense with that element of their offense?
Well, I think all of college football is that way. More of the game is played on the perimeter. It's not unique to just TCU. They also throw the ball vertical down the field, and they have a lot of size outside. So they can cover you up on the perimeter game, and they can launch shots, and they've hit a ton of big plays throughout this year.
And also with Dugan, he's completed a lot of passes this year when they're behind schedule. I know he gets a lot of notoriety for his running ability, but what have you seen from him that allows him to kind of make those plays when the down and distance isn't favorable?
Well, he's got great players to do it with. He understands defenses. I think he's very smart. There's no defense he's going to see that he hasn't seen before. You're not tricking an experienced quarterback. It's very similar with Stetson. You gotta do it better than they do it. You gotta out execute them. There's no tricking them. And he does a tremendous job of that. They have a system to allow him to manage that and to get back to third downs where you got a shot to convert them.
Our next question comes from Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Please go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. Kirby, good afternoon. I know you made a Cool-Hand Luke reference to Stetson over the weekend. But in the fourth quarter, he has been on point, a huge rating, no interceptions. What have you seen in his evolution that's made him so good in crunch time in the fourth quarter?
I think it's his mental disposition. I think he doesn't think of the moment any different than the first quarter from the fourth quarter. He doesn't feel that. He is a processor. He is a deep thinker. He just goes through the process of what he's going to do and doesn't let it affect him. He's never real high. He's never real low, which I think is a great trait for a quarterback, and I think that helps him in the fourth quarter to be able to go execute. He has a lot of confidence. I think his coaching staff does a great job preparing him to be in those moments.
And our next question comes from Chuck Carlton, Dallas Morning News. Please go ahead, Chuck.
Yes, Stetson. I was just curious. You and Max got a chance to spend a few days together in New York for the Heisman ceremony. Did you have a chance to get
Chuck?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Stetson's not on yet. This is just Coach Smart.
I'm
joining in a few minutes.
Yeah, my apologies on this, jumping the gun. And since I'm on here, I might as well take my time and ask Kirby a quick question. Kirby, as you look at the rosters of the two teams, they've been built a lot differently. You've got blue chip after blue chip recruiting classes. TCU has some kids who maybe had very limited offers. I guess as you look at their talent and their roster, what stands out to you about that? And are there different ways, I guess, to build a better mousetrap in terms of recruiting?
Yeah, I never look at it through the perspective of a lot of people look at it as it's all about, what your kids were rated when they came in. I mean, Coach Dykes inherited a lot of those players and got some, through the portal and things, but you got what you got, and what you do with what you have is what makes you a coach. And he's done a tremendous job with the players that he has and has inherited, and I feel like we've done the same with the ones we've gone out and recruited. So I never get too caught up in how it was built. It's kind of like, okay, you gave me my mold, and now I've got to try to go make something out of it. And you do the best job you can with what you got, and that's what you focus on. So at the end of the day, everybody gets into all those ratings and all those things over and over again. It's about the chemistry of a team, and I would venture to say that these two teams probably have some of the best chemistry across the country.
And our next question comes from Chip Powers from AJC. Please go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, Coach. Educate me if you need to on this, but Arian Smith, obviously he had a big game, but and I know he's played in the slot a good bit, but it seemed like he was much more involved in all the motions and things that you guys run. Did you guys redevelop a role for him during the break? And specifically, obviously, Ladd's still banged up, so I guess I'll also use this opportunity to ask you to update us on his status and those other guys that were banged up in the game.
Yeah, I don't know if I know exactly what you're asking. Arian has developed through not being injured. His role has increased probably with every week this season. It may not have always shown that way in the stat line or in the number of snaps played. I don't think you guys can evaluate it that way because you don't see what goes on in practice for 5 days. So he has grown and developed and gotten better and better and better, and he really just got more opportunity to do what he's been doing. I wouldn't call it a redefined role. It would be an opportunity because of Ladd's injury, and we didn't know how long or how hard Ladd would be able to go. Ladd felt good, looked good in warm-ups, and was able to go and play, and we're hoping he's going to be even better this week. But we had to have somebody ready, and you can imagine over 28 days of preparation, there was a lot of days that Arian was repping and doing things because Ladd wasn't able to. As we got closer and closer to the game, Ladd was doing more and more. So it was a balance between the two, and we've had a musical chairs, and most people do because people have injuries at the wide receiver positions. But between AD, Marcus, there's been a lot there, and I think B-Mac and Coach Monken have done a tremendous job of slicing and dicing those roles.
How about Darnell and Warren and Chaz? Can you update us on their injury status?
Yeah, we're hopeful to get all those guys back.
And our next question comes from Barrett Sally from CBS Sports. Please go ahead, Barrett.
Hey, Kirby. I was actually going to ask about Darnell, Warren, and Chaz also, so no worries here.
Thanks.
And our next question comes from Paul Newberry from the Associated Press. Please go ahead, Paul. Paul, are you there? Is your line muted? Paul, are you there? Okay, we'll move on. Our next question comes from Seth Emerson from The Athletic. Please go ahead, Seth.
Kirby, the 3-3-5 of TCU, how instructive does that make the Mississippi State game for you all?
Say again?
The TCU's defense, and that the 3-3-5, how instructive is the Mississippi State game thus for you all?
Not really at all. They're not. Mississippi State's very different. They're not really 3-3-5 compared to these guys.
In what sense?
That's not the same structure. It's not the same looks that they provide. There's different coverage structures. There's different elements to it. There's different personnel groupings, different techniques within inside, different styles of play than those guys.
And our next question comes from Heather Dinich from ESPN. Please go ahead, Heather.
Just wanted to check logistical question, make sure that everyone you're expecting to go is going in the 2 deep, that no one is going to miss the trip for injury or other reasons.
We'll be taking the whole team out there.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Jordan Hill from Dogs 24/7. Please go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, Kirby, with that last drive on defense, you guys had a lot of freshmen on the field, Marvin, Jalen Walker, Malachi, Michael. Just how big were those freshmen, their contributions, especially toward the end of that game?
Well, they didn't actually do what they're supposed to do every play, so the contribution can be either positive or negative. I wouldn't say it was negative, but I wouldn't say it was positive. I would say it was a lot more neutral. So they're out there because they give us the best chance to win, but some of them are out there due to unforeseen circumstances and injuries, and we don't make excuses around here and talk about injuries and these problems, but we've had our fair share, and nobody feels sorry for us and don't want anybody to. But we have to get those guys ready to play at a higher level. And, you can make a case that's a great thing. There's 4 or 5 freshmen out there. You can make a case that's not a good thing. It's all about, how they perform and how they execute.
Coach, thank you very much for your time today. At this point in the call, we will pause for a moment to transition back over for Stetson Bennett and Javon Bullard. Again, Coach, best of luck in your travels to Los Angeles, and we will see you this weekend.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for staying on the line. We are now joined by Peach Bowl players of the game, Stetson Bennett and Javon Bullard. At this time, Ross will again explain how you can get in the queue, and we will begin the question and answer session with the 2 student athletes. Thank you.
As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad now, and you will be placed in the queue in the order received. Once again, to ask a question, please press star 1 on your phone now. One moment while we gather the questions. And our first question comes from Zachary Braziller from New York Post. Please go ahead, Zachary.
Stetson, just, what has kind of been the overall message, just among the players, among the coaches with, coming off how you guys performed on Saturday? Obviously, I feel like you and Coach both said that you felt like team needs to play better. Just how did you guys kind of feel how you performed and what has to happen on January 9th?
Yeah, I think there were stretches where we didn't play well, but then there are also stretches where we played really, really well. And no matter that all happened within the game, and it's not like we get less credit because it happened in a certain situation or what, but we just got to clean up those areas where we didn't play as clean for a little bit, and not have to play basically perfect like we did in the fourth quarter.
Do you feel like you guys can play a lot better than you did on Saturday?
I think it's pretty apparent. Pretty apparent that we can. We opened up the second half with 2 3 and outs. Now part of that is that Ohio State is an unbelievable team and they played really well. But yeah, I definitely feel like we can clean things up and play better than we did.
And our next question comes from Chip Towers from AJC. Please go ahead, Chip.
Hey, Stet. How you doing, bud?
Good. How you doing?
Good. One of the cool things I think about your story is you grew up as a Georgia fan, right? So you knew all that stuff before you got there. Your name now is starting to overtake some big names on records list, for career total offense, career this, career that. Are you updated on that kind of stuff, and do you have even a second to appreciate it?
I'd say I'm as updated as I want to be. No, No, not yet, Chip. We still got a season, and we still got one more game left, and all that stuff will still be there after that. If I do want to look at it eventually, but now's not the time.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Chuck Carlton from the Dallas Morning News. Please go ahead, Chuck.
Hi, question for Stetson. You got a chance to spend some time with Max in New York City for the Heisman ceremony. I was just wondering, did you have much of a chance to interact and kind of compare notes as quarterbacks of playoff teams? And also, do you see any similarities, I guess, between your two stories as kind of underdog quarterbacks who've made it this far?
Max is an awesome dude. We hung out a little bit in New York, like you said. It was kind of a weird situation because, whenever, and now he didn't go to the Manning Academy, but whenever we were there, it was more like we were a bunch of dudes and we were all hanging out. And in New York, it was almost like there was still a sense of competition, even though we weren't. Because I guess we were all trying to, win. Not that we could do anything up there, but he's an A+ dude. He works hard. All those things. But I think he's the heart and soul of that team. I hadn't really watched him play, but I've watched his interviews and I've watched just how he carried himself up in New York, and he's a leader. There's something to be said for both his story and my story, and the fact that we're here at the end.
And our next question comes from Pat Ford from Sports Illustrated. Please go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, hi, for Stetson. Along those lines, you said you played about 30 minutes of bad football the other night, and Max's numbers weren't great during that game, but you guys made plays when you had to. What's the importance for a quarterback to be able to just keep playing even when you're not playing necessarily well at the moment?
It's the same thing that keeps you playing when you're playing unbelievable in the moment. You know that it's football, and there's always something that you don't know that's going to happen. And it's cliche, but it's not over until that fat lady sings, and and you owe it to your teammates, more than all. And if you give up, it's almost a selfish thing, because there's people out there relying on you, and you're not just playing for yourself. And so there really wasn't an option but to keep going, and things worked out, and we played really well at the end.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Connor Riley from Dog Nation. Please go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, hey, Stetson. Obviously, we won't know Darnell's status for later in the week, but what kind of impact does his absence have on this offense, and how it might change the way you guys do things, given how important and unique of a player he is?
Yeah, Darnell's getting treatment. He's resting up, and hopefully he'll be good to go. But he's an unbelievable talent, and he's amazing. And but if he can't go, then we're just gonna have other people step up. That's the way it works here. It's about the team. We want to have him. We would love to have him. He's one of the game changers we have. But if we don't, then we still have to go win a football game.
And then, this is going to be your final collegiate game. I'm sure you're trying to block that out and just focus on going out there and winning. But when you look back at all of it, what do you think about yourself has allowed you to get to this point in your career where you've got a chance to win a second straight national title for Georgia?
I don't know. Maybe I just, I don't know. I try to see things for what they are, and I don't let people tell me what they are. I try to figure that out on my own, and I think I've done a pretty good job of that.
Thanks, Stetson.
And our next question comes from Lane Higgins from the Wall Street Journal. Please go ahead, Lane.
Hey, Stetson. I know that you can tend to be pretty self-deprecating and quick to, point out your own flaws. But I'm curious, what does it feel like when you have a coach that's kind of doing that on national TV after the game, in the way that Coach Smart was at the end of the Peach Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, we've all got their emotions, and I've felt the same way. I didn't play well there. Kind of forced me to play as well as I did in the fourth. But if we don't play, in the second and third quarter, if we don't have that little stretch, then maybe we don't have to. So I agree with him. Who knows what the reason was, but it does have to be fixed. And we're trying to be perfect, and we're trying to do everything that we can to make every play perfect. And when it's not, then win or lose, we're not happy with it. And so, that's why, that's my coach, and he's been my coach for, several years now. And so I trust him, and it doesn't really matter, that other people here call me out, because I know that it's the truth. And so the truth, and everybody can hear it, and he's right. I do need to play better.
And our next question comes from Paul Newberry from the Associated Press. Please go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, can you hear me, Stetson?
Yep, gotcha, Paul.
Okay. I didn't work last time. This is for both Stetson and is Javon on as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For Stetson, first of all, just you've been there about as long as this Kirby has. He sort of has taken this program, obviously, to everybody that you followed your whole life, that everybody thought was sort of a sleeping giant, had not quite fulfilled its potential, and certainly has these last few years. What in your mind has allowed him to take that next step with the program? What has he done? What have you seen from your long time there? And then after you're done, Javon, just what has Coach brought to the defense? That was obviously his kind of his calling card when he arrived at Georgia. What do you see as the things that stand out about what he brings to the defense?
Well, I'd say first, he learned from, probably the greatest of all time, Coach Smart, and he learned, and, he took notes, and he got the practice, and he got everything down to a T, and then he made it his. And then when he came here, there's a little bit of, if you've never been and you're trying to build a program. And I think the thing that has most changed is, not most changed, but the thing that has gotten us here is that he's a big believer in discipline and schedule and all that stuff, and that's good and fine, but he's also, brilliant, and he learns, and, everything at the end of the day is about the University of Georgia winning, and that goes from our facilities, goes to recruiting, raising money, practice, recovery, nutrition, mental health, everything. And I think that's been, if not the biggest, one of the biggest reasons for our success. And whenever you see the head guy do that, then, everybody else in the building kind of feeds off that and knows what's expected. And then, here a couple years down the road, we believe in it, and it's part of who we are.
As far as what he brought to the defense, Coach Smart always had that certain swagger about him that just screamed out defense. Like I said, along with what Stetson said, he continues to learn his players. He wants to know what we're thinking, what we see out there, and just the energy that he brings throughout practice and the preparation through the week allows us to go out there and just play free on Saturdays.
And our next question comes from Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. Please go ahead, Dennis.
Thanks. I didn't know Javon was on. That's great. Stetson, for both of you guys, Stetson, you played or you watched in 17, while Georgia played 15 games, you played 15 games last year. For both of you guys, what are your bodies like this time? Or this time of year, are you tired? And with an expanded playoff, can you imagine playing, one or two more games in this system?
Well, I'll be the first. I'm sure Bull agrees with me. It doesn't really matter now. We got, I don't know, what's today, the 3rd, so I don't know, however you do your math, 5 or so days, 6 or so days, for it all. And so, if you can, if it's, this is the ultimate, are you injured or are you hurt? And if you're not injured, then you suck it up and you play. Because what are you setting yourself for now? This is it. This is the big game. This is what we do it for. So.
Javon?
This for all the marbles. Just me agreeing with Stet. Now is not the time to complain about your body hurting or your body being taxed. And I know, it's been a long season, but we're the last 2 teams in college football, so I'm pretty sure everybody's hurting. So right now is not the time for us to be not even necessarily complaining, but just nagging about our bodies being hurt. It's football. Your body's gonna ache. You gonna have aches and pains, but it's all about winning at the end of the day, and that's what we're trying to do.
Can I ask you guys real quick how the Hamill's injury last night impacted you guys as players?
As far as me just watching it, you always think just like as far as sports, I've never seen nothing like that. As far as like a dude's just heart stopping, I didn't even know that was possible in football, to be honest with you. But my prayers go out to him and his family and the Bills organization.
Stetson.
I think Stetson had to leave after that last question, so he had to move on. I apologize. We still have Javon for a minute or two if anyone has any additional questions for Javon before he has to jump into meetings.
Our next question comes from Mark Weiser from Athens Banner Herald. Please go ahead, Mark.
Javon, you've gone up against good receiving corps the last couple of games. What stands out about TCU's group when you study film?
Well, we just started to get into them today, but of course their size on the outside stands out a lot. We know they got some very large receivers with big catch radiuses, and they can run. So anytime you have that size on the perimeter, whether it's quick game or deep balls, it's always a great matchup.
Let me ask you also, obviously Darnell went down, Oscar Delp got more snaps. You've seen Oscar in practice. How do you think he held up? I know you didn't study the film with him, but what does he bring to the table?
I feel like he played great. Oscar comes to practice to works day in and day out. That's how this team works. When one man goes down, another one has to step up. So, like I said, we don't hold our heads down in pity. Darnell's a great player, and Oscar came in and I wouldn't say fill those shoes, but he definitely did what we needed to do in order to get the win.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Heather Dennis from ESPN. Please go ahead, Heather.
Stetson said that it's pretty apparent he thought you guys could play better than you did, and he said you felt like you guys could clean some things up. And I was wondering, from your perspective, A, if you agreed, and B, as you watch film, what are the specific things that you guys would like to do better?
I definitely agree. I think the whole team can attest that we didn't play our best game. But at the end of the day, it's only one, result that matters. That matters the most, and that's the W. So, like I said, we didn't play our best game, but it's a whole lot we can fix as far as I can speak on the defensive side of the ball, communication and things like that. Just the basic things like that, knowing your leverage, talking. I know we got to talk better throughout the secondary and things like that. So, like I said, throughout this week, we're just going to work on the smaller things and try to detail our work to the best of our ability.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Zach Klein from WSB TV. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Javon, who handles the tickets? How many do you get? And does all of Milledgeville reaching out to try to go to this game?
I'm not really sure, like, who handles the tickets and things like that, but I'm pretty sure my mom and my pops are going to be there and my brother, so that's all that really kind of matters to me.
And our next question comes from Connor O'Gary from Saturday Down South. Please go ahead, Connor.
For those of us who don't get to see A.D. Mitchell and what he's kind of been through this year to try and come back, can you kind of explain what was like watching him be able to get back for these last two games?
Well, A.D. deserves everything that he's coming to get. A.D. is an extremely hard worker, and you know what I'm saying, I came in with A.D., so our friendship goes beyond the football field, and I just love watching him play. He's an emotional player, cares about his game, and he cares about his team, and he cares about winning. So, like I said, A.D. deserves everything that he's going to get, and not only coming up, but in life in general.
What do you remember about when you came in with him at the same time when you guys were recruits?
Just keeping our head down and work. I can remember days in that I saw A.D. catching jugs when nobody was in there. And, you know, things like that, like the plays that he makes don't happen overnight. It's through the preparation and the work that he's put in behind closed doors what makes him the player that he is.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Javon. Appreciate your time today. We look forward to seeing you in Los Angeles here in a few days.
Thank you.
This concludes our call with the University of Georgia. Again, the transcript will be available on collegepressbox.com shortly. Please feel free to join us in about 15 minutes or so when we will do this again with the TCU.